Good morning, everybody. This is Sean and Raj. We're doing a little bit of a small video on what we call species and how that actually works and is integrated into Production Coach. So Sean has shown me a little bit about it, and we're going to just go through this so you'll know it and be able to practice it before you get to Austin. So on any job, you can highlight and just go straight to the calendar. It doesn't make any difference. The calendar is where you make the species. So Sean, what do I do from here? I go down to this gear, correct?
Yes.
And I click on the gear, and then I go up to the calendar, or do I go to this wheel here?
Go to the gear.
Go to the gear, okay, and that's...
So wait a minute. So this one is doing something important.
Okay.
So this is allowing you to designate the work days in your calendar for this calculation.
Okay, for this species. Okay, so I'll just say, hey, we'll work all 7 days. Go to the file.
That's for factory, not the species. Yep. And then the calendar.
The calendar. Okay, this lists all of the collection stations that are available.
Let's list all of your deliveries, your installations, and the stations that you have in Production Coach.
Okay, and so in order to select it, let's just say I want to select the delivery date. I'll click on that, and basically what it's doing is it's saying the delivery date, and I can assign the time by clicking the clock. And now I can describe how many days, or no, this is capacity, isn't it, Sean?
So I think we want to pick something other than delivery for this. When you and I just did this, we went to cutting to do it.
Okay, my mistake. We'll go to cutting. And so it's referencing the delivery date. And if I click on, and it's saying options, follow the steps, displacement, active. Okay, so if I click on the clock, it's cut and it gives me the capacity. In this case, it's 100 parts to 800 parts is the capacity, the financials, and the min-max numbers. So I save that away for the cell itself. And where do I set up the amount of time in advance that it has to be?
Right there on the gear.
Okay, so I go to the gear, and it's saying, in order for me to make this particular species, I want to start out, do we start a fresh species, Sean?
If you were going to do that, you had to do that in the configuration if you wanted to make a new one.
Okay, so let's just go with the Sean. This is a Sean species. Okay, so we're saying the number of days in advance that it has to cut, and it's referring to the delivery date that we posted. See where it says reference the delivery date? So we're going to say that we need to cut this, and I'm going to change it to 7 days. Okay, so I'll save it. I got that right, Sean?
Yes.
Okay, and so then I can't get out of this, and the next thing would be sorted. So I hit the hourglass, it gets sorted, set up the gear, and it's set for 4 days. We're going to change it to 6 days. I save it, shut it out, shut this out, and the next one, so I went cutting, sorting, I want to go to assembly, and I want to set assembly to be 4 days. Save it. Now this is all relevant because when we post the job under the Sean species, it's going to backdate the work cells of where all this needs to be. So if a customer asks you, okay, I don't see how this is, I have control over the calendar and the way it's going to backdate everything for me to work, this is where you go to get this to work, to set up. I guess the next one would be staged, and I wanted to stage this 1 day. Well, let's just change it to 2 days. Save it. Go down. Go down. Okay, and then actual shipped. I want to make this, that's fine, 1 day. Okay. All right. So let me stop here and stop here and stop here. So if I want to schedule a job now, I shut this off and I want to go to, we'll run the job. Let's go ahead and import it. We'll do this one that's probably never been run on our computers, PM004. Okay, so when that tree disappears, it's imported. So I say close, and here it is. So there it is, and I want to go ahead and schedule it. So I click on the calendar.
Nope.
Nope, I did it wrong. Sorry.
Yep.
That's right, I did it wrong. I double click, I'm sorry guys, I'm still learning. I double click on it and I say I want this to be scheduled, and I'm going to pull it down to, let's pull it to the 25th or the 24th. And I want to do both, install it and deliver it. And so I say, do I have to put anything else in this box? Yeah, I picked the species. Now, sometimes when you hear the word species, you think of, okay, it's a material. But in this case, it's a process. And you just saw me assign how these parts are going to flow through the factory when we set up the Sean project, which is a species. So now we'll say, okay.
Before you close,
yeah.
Look at your installation date. It looks like that's being installed on the 4th and delivered on the 20th.
Thank you. Thank you. I may not have.
Also, while you're here, I want you to select a shipper and an installer.
So I go to shipper and I pull it down, say our truck, and an installer is number 1. Anything else? Okay. So now I go to the calendar. It's already booked, so it'll show up. Now it was set for the 24th. Here it is on the 24th. That's the shipping day and installation day. So deliveries. Okay, so now I want to go, the installation is the same day. I picked that, and now we're going to pick progress. Okay, so I want to see where this would be cut. So I click on cut, and it went up to the 17th. Okay, so if I want to see, now I want to stop that one, and I want to see where it's going to be sorted. Okay, that moved over to the next day. Okay.
You can display multiples of those at once if you want.
I'm aware.
Okay.
What I want to show them too, and then so basically it's running all the way through. It's color coded, so you can see that PM004 is scheduled to be cut on the 17th. It's scheduled to be kitted on the 18th. It's scheduled to be assembled on the 20th, and it's staged on the 22nd, and supposed to be shipped. I don't think it's showing up. I don't see.
You don't have shipped clicked.
Well, that's why it's not showing up, Sean. I don't know where you've been. What is this? Okay, so you can actually see this. Now, one of the other things that's kind of cool is that I can pull. I wanted to show this because I don't know that everybody knows this. I learned this today, so from Sean. So if I say, okay, show me what I've got to cut, I can actually do this, and it's actually calculating the number of sheets and the parts that I'm going to make and the amount of money that I'm going to do in this time frame. Okay, I think I can do the same for sorted and shut off cut. Well, it went back to a limited schedule. Let's just take that. And so it shows the amount of products and the amount of money. So, you know, it really does help the person completely understand where his system is at and how his cells are loaded and what's expected out of them. And of course, you can combine this data, hold on, with this data. And if you talk about both, you can explain what's happening in his factory, and you can see if it turns red, you can see that there's a bottleneck occurring between sorting and assembly. So from a management standpoint, you might move some bodies from here over to assembly to clear this up. That's all I have, Sean. Have I left anything out? Do we need to explain some more stuff?
No, I think that this is a way to describe the Google Planning as a tool for back scheduling and a look at capacity at each station based on either parts, products, sheets, or dollars.
Okay. Guys, we will see you in Austin. Hopefully you can fire up your system and play with that setup and get familiar with the Google Calendar. Also, I guess that shows up on your cell phone too. Correct, Sean?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay, we're now going to take a look at timekeeping, and Sean's going to explain it. So I'm on the web. I'm going to go ahead and turn on timekeeping, and I'm going to sign in as user 2. And here's where we're at. So go ahead, Sean.
So select on green for payroll. It's assuming that we're walking into the factory for the first time today.
Okay.
And so you would click on clock in. So now, if you'll notice above, it's telling you your user 2. You could be your name or whatever. You're not in any work orders. You're not at any stations, and you're not at any tasks, which means that it's only collecting time for payroll. In general, the concept would be that from there you would begin work. So select on work orders. And so now you're going to select into the work order that you're going to deal with. Once you've done that, it's going to bring up the stations that you have set in your system. And so you'll see that. So let's select into a station. And now a task inside of the station. So let's select on one of those. And so now you'll see the display above. You're still user 2. Now you're in a particular work order. You're in the station of kitting, and you're doing part sorting. From here, there are a number of options to be able to do. You can change tasks by clicking on tasks. You could change stations by clicking on stations. Just go to a different, select one. Yeah. And so then you could switch stations, and then that would prompt you to a new task inside of the station. Very good. So you've made that change to it. You could also go to work orders and change to a different work order. Very good. So you'll see that it's telling you as the user all the time what it is that you are doing. Let's assume that it's now lunchtime, and so from a standpoint of payroll that we want to actually clock out. So we're going to clock out.
Log off?
No, it says clock out, the blue screen.
Oh, sorry, okay.
So now we've clocked out for lunch. And by the way, in general, if you would imagine that it automatically changes this because there's multiple people using it. So Roger, go back to the log off screen. This is the way that you would come in generally. So you would select yourself and log in. So now you would do payroll again. So now you're back on the clock. Very good. So now it's accumulating the time. Notice they didn't start at 0, that it continued the time that we had from doing this earlier. So you would repeat the processes of going to a work order, going to a station, going to a task throughout your day. So it automatically came to stations for you. You don't have to select anything. It's smart. It also went to tasks. Very good. And so we would continue that process throughout our day. So eventually we're going to get to a point to where we're going to be done working for the day. So if we would like, we could hit clock out. And so now we've punched out for the day. So now let's click on history, because what I want to see is I want to verify what kind of work I did for today to make sure that I got all my stuff correct. So now I get to see a perfect timestamp and the minute accumulation of everything that was done. I didn't work very long in this, so in the demo it's showing very little data. You could certainly, if you were showing timekeeping early in the demo, you could stay logged in while you were doing the rest of your stuff and then clock out, and you'd see better accumulated time for this. But it shows you the exact timestamps that are available, so you can know exactly what you did for the day.
Okay, Sean, thanks a lot. Guys, I hope you're able to look at this and practice it a little bit, get familiar with it before we show up in Austin. It'll help you grow faster and better. Thanks. Bye. Because we can save some time. Okay, now we're going to talk about using the data. So, Sean, did you tell me to go to production?
Yeah, go to production and timekeeping. So think about this from the perspective of a production manager. So he's had employees that have been working and doing kind of stuff. So now he wants to look at this data from a variety of ways. Either the two main ways are either users or work orders. We're highlighted on users right now, so he can look at all users at once, or in the drop-down box for users, he could select an individual user. If you would, select admin, because that's the one for this database that has time against it. So now he would see that they worked on PM004, and they have an amount of time associated with what they did. This is not looking at what Roger just did. It's a different database, but don't worry about that for the moment. What I want you to understand here is that a manager would have the ability to adjust time. So if you would click on the 0351 in gray. So now you see that if someone didn't clock in right, or if they made a mistake, whatever it is, you would be able to adjust hours, minutes, or seconds to be able to adjust their time. It's possible someone forgets to clock in or forgets to clock into a work order or whatever it is. You have the ability as a manager to be able to make that change. Okay? So you also can set, of course, the date range that you want to look at. And then you also have the ability to look at this from from a work order standpoint. So we'll highlight there, and it never displays all work orders because there could be too many, and so please go select a work order. And I don't really know which one that in this data you might have some time against. If you click on the green bar of any work order, okay, we've got to find one in your, you got to go find a work order, Roger, that has something associated to it. It was called, I saw it in that last screen when you were on your user. It's, try the PC004. Now, if you click on it.
No, I'm not getting anything.
Okay, so we have to have, in this case, if there were parts. Okay, very good. Now you can also drill down even below stations if there's more information to be had. So click on the blue, and then it wasn't set for a task, click on the green. Very good. So now it's going to show you, based on your date range, the number of hours that have been accumulated for PM004. If there was a station, if there was a task, you'd have all of that data. And again, if you need to make an edit to it, you can click on the gray timestamp and to be able to adjust the time for it. It'll give you tools as a manager to be able to see and to make adjustments as the #1 feature of the side of it, okay? So now what I want us to think about is in the upper right-hand corner, depending upon whether we're looking at a work order or an employee, we're now going to generate Excel data for that. So if you would click on it. So now it's going to ask you to save a file and to decide where you might want to place this. So he's going to stick it on his desktop, name it, done. So as soon as you save this, now we'll go access the desktop of our computer and open that file. So as you might imagine, two different types of stuff. We might want to make a report for payroll, which could be all of the employees' time being displayed, and we might want to make it for job costing, which would be for a work order, the time accumulated against it. So Roger, if you go to your desktop.
I'm trying to get there. This thing seems to be...
Go to the black bar at the bottom and right-click. Show desktop. Fourth one up from the bottom. So now, this doesn't have a whole lot of it, but what we were reporting in this case was for PM004, how many hours were against that work order. So the data, if we've done all of these different punches, such as work orders and stations and tasks and accumulated time, would have a lot more detailed information. In this one example, it wasn't clocked into a station or a task, and so you're only seeing the accumulation of hours. But it's a big deal for our customers to be able to have a way to report the time that's been collected for either job costing, which is the time against work orders, or for the purposes of payroll.
Sean, that seemed like a kind of a general. Is it because we didn't put a lot of specific data in there and accrue it? And if I wanted to do it for multiple jobs, I could do it all at one time in a spreadsheet?
Absolutely, it is correct. That you can, usually the job costing is per work order, but the payroll would be by employees at one time for a payroll report accounting. But the reason that, first of all, you know that we were only in timekeeping for a few seconds, so we didn't get a lot to do with this. And currently, your timekeeping database, the web database, is not connected to your production coach database. And so that's the reason that you didn't see it, but just an understanding of how to use the Google Calendar and then how to use the interface inside of Production Coach to be able to manage the time that happened from the web.
Okay, so what you're saying is that in our current state, where we're at right now is when we do time accrual, we're collecting it in a database, but that database is not connected to our system that we're showing on our notebooks. So we would have to explain that's the difference, and the history is not going to come through because we haven't collected the history and connected the two databases. One's in the clouds, one's on the notebook.
And even though they do synchronize with each other at a customer standpoint, your particular web database is not synchronizing to your main database. But anyway, we'll deal with those things and have it so that it's going to make a good demo. As everyone can agree, we can't clock in for a full day and do huge amounts of stuff. So what we'll have is a way to display how to use it, and then we'll have a known work order to go to that will have lots of time and stuff associated with it. We'll also have a period of time to look out on the calendar to display payroll time for multi-employees.
Yeah.
So what you're showing compared to what you demo in only a few moments will be slightly different, but I think it will give good results.
Okay. All right, Sean. Thanks a lot.